Hello and welcome. The goal of this podcast is to get listeners connected with others in the sports industry because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know us. Hi, welcome and hello, everybody, to the 52nd episode of the Constant Sports Podcast. We have a very exciting guest today in the fantasy sports world. And Tara, thanks for joining us today, all the way over there from the East Coast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Connor. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to dive into kind of what you've been creating and a little bit of your vision and whatnot with a company called Fantasy Sports Evo, and basically how to become a mover and shaker in a, uh, exploding industry, as you could say, with kind of the legalization of some things and some moving pieces there in the sports kind of betting and fantasy world. So, if you want to just kick us off here, give us kind of a, you know, background elevator pitch type of deal of, what Fantasy Sports Evo is, the concept, and kind of how you brought it to reality.
Yeah. So Fantasy Sports Evo is not just another daily fantasy sports app, right? We're completely unique in where you pick teams instead of players to build your fantasy lineup. How it came about was our founder and my partner, Mark. It's a pretty interesting story. It was born out of frustration of traditional fantasy sports. He had set up his lineup before he left work, and he was driving home from work one day, and he heard on the radio that one of his players in his lineup got pulled due to the stomach bug. And that's just something that's not on your radar, right?
Yeah.
So by the time he got home, it was too late to change his lineup, and his lineup was busted. So, he was frustrated, and he's like, there's got to be a better way. And that's how he created Fantasy Sports Evo. So he was trying to create a new way to play where one injury wouldn't ruin your lineup. And what he ended up creating was a whole new category of fantasy sports, one where you pick teams instead of players to build your lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I felt that pain many a times with, fantasy sports teams where, your quarterback goes down or whatever it is. So I feel the pain there. And I'm sure many of the listeners and viewers have there are similar stories as to a specific player, not playing or even, holding out. I feel like that's kind of one more recently where players are kind of holding out. So it's like, do I draft them? And then, they're holding out the first 2 weeks or whatnot. So great problem to be solved. And like many great, companies is you find a problem and then you find a solution to the problem. And so that kind of gets into the kind of inspiration and the creation behind Fantasy Sports Evo. And as far as kind of the market, the market share, kind of how does that look? What's kind of the landscape of kind of an app or a league such as Fantasy Sports Evo?
Well, we are a mobile-friendly website, meaning you can play it. It looks the same on your desktop or your mobile app or your phone. I'm sorry. We also have an app available in the Apple and Google Play Store. So it doesn't matter what device you're on. Our apps are a mirror image of our website, so it doesn't matter what device you're on. It all looks the same. The user experience is the same.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And great continuity, it sounds like. And
Yes.
how long has kind of this journey been, kind of with the company building it up? Has it been, what's kind of the time frame there?
Yeah. So Mark came up with this idea a few years ago, and after he came up with the idea, his friends and family jumped on board to help fund the startup. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We all know startups are expensive. So
Yep.
so Mark started working with the developers day and night to help customize the fantasy technology of the app.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's based on picking teams instead of players, right? So there's no other technology out there like this. So he was working day and night on that. And then I met Mark about 3 years ago when he and his family moved next door to us. And then after he was telling me the story and his idea and what he was been working on, my wife and I immediately jumped on board. And we're helping with the business side of it. So Mark is still a very big part of the tech side,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife and I are doing the business and the marketing side of it. So we helped to finalize the website and launch Fantasy Sports Evo. And we first tested with our friends and family, and then we made some enhancements based on that season. And then we had our first live NFL season last year. And it was very successful. We had a lot of positive feedback from that. And now we are going to our second NFL season, and we are ready for things to just explode from here.
Yep, exciting. And I want to touch on that a little bit as NFL seems to be, king with viewership and ratings and things of that nature. So as you're, about to embark on your second full season on a business side, what would that look like? So a lot of our listeners and viewers are sports management, sports business, kind of entrepreneurial in a way. And so the business side of things is very intriguing for me especially. So what does that look like as you're about to head into the biggest, I guess, season or time of year for your company?
Yeah, absolutely. NFL is definitely the biggest time of year for any fantasy sports betting
Yeah.
industry, the industry as a whole, right? So we're excited about that. We've been working a lot with our affiliate marketing partners, trying to build that up, get our name out there in front of more sports fans, as we're leading into the NFL season. So we're just trying to, get our name out there, partner with as many people as we can, content writers, bloggers, influencers, uh, podcasts like yourself,
Mhm.
just getting our name out there, earning some credibility with the fan base. And we hope to grow our user base exponentially this year.
Yep. No, looking forward to watching that journey. And as you've, kind of been building this out on the business side, what are some day-to-day aspects of in your role specifically that, from start to finish of the day that you're, doing on a consistent basis?
Yeah, so let's see, day to day, let's see, I check, to make sure all the contests went off and everyone got paid properly in the morning, and then I look for withdrawal requests, take care of those. I see who's playing, if there's any VIPs that I need to reach out to and
Mhm.
credit them a little bit, give them a little bonus for playing. I look at any new users, see if they deposited, make sure their deposit match goes in. And I reach out to any new users to welcome them to the platform and make sure, I ask for their feedback so that,
Yep.
we're as a new startup, a new platform, we're constantly asking for user feedback to make sure that everyone's experience is a good one. And sometimes when people are using it, they have more ideas and better feedback from us just sitting here thinking, that we have a great product. We know we have a great product, but it could always get a little bit better for the user. So we're constantly listening to that and making changes from there.
Yeah, it's always helps to kind of get a, second eye, second hands on something to, give it a give it a fresh look. And obviously with having a startup, having a company, being on the business side, etc., there's a lot of challenges or drawbacks that you might have not anticipated. So what are a few of those that you've seen, right? Just being in the role that you're in, maybe some biggest challenges you've faced, either, kind of as an entrepreneur or as the business itself.
Yeah, well, the grind is real. You really have to get up and grind every day constantly. And one of the biggest challenges is just finding a way to get our name out there and give us some credibility, right? So
Mhm.
I'm constantly reaching out to everyone to partner with them, to write a story about us. And like without people knowing our name, it's hard to to get someone, just to get that spark to start the journey. So
Right.
it's been hard. And everyone is busy. We're not just the only ones that are busy. So it's, like that inbox is full, just as mine is, so it's, the follow-ups and not getting frustrated when someone doesn't answer you right away.
Mhm.
And just, reaching out, trying to make as many connections as I can, um, to get the story written, to get people talking about us, to lower that user acquisition cost. um and money, everything costs so much money.
Yep.
So with any business, money is obviously it's a big one. But
Yeah, it's always, it is it's something to, keep an eye on, especially as you're building and it feels like you always need money, you're trying to get money, something costs more money than you think. It's a, the old cat and mouse game. And specifically on the app side and kind of the target audience for the users, we've talked about it a little bit, but I guess what is the target audience for Fantasy Sports Evo? Casual fans, like seasoned fans, etc.
yeah, so one of our taglines is Evo is for everyone. And it really is, because and that's what we're trying to focus on, because our platform is so much simpler than traditional fantasy sports. We are a platform for everyone, because it's a great entryway for a new user to fantasy sports, but it's also great in addition to for those seasoned fantasy sports players looking for something different, whether they're bored or frustrated with their current platform of choice.
Mhm.
Seasoned players really love the fact that one injury won't ruin their lineup,
Yeah.
or that there's no salary cap, or that we have limited entry contests. So even as our contest sizes get bigger, right now we only have 3 or 5 player, but as they get bigger and bigger, we're only going to limit your entries to 3. So you're not playing against a bot or an algorithm.
Mhm.
Everyone has a chance to really win.
And for maybe some of the viewers out there who aren't, extremely familiar with fantasy sports and, sports betting and that kind of whole industry, can you explain a little bit about kind of the team aspect and why, having kind of this team type of app makes it simpler, is easier, et cetera?
Yeah, so this is the exact reason why I, as a sports fan, and I do like to gamble. My wife and I got married in Atlantic City, New Jersey, so so we do like that aspect. But I never played fantasy because it was too time consuming
Mhm.
and overwhelming and intimidating. Even sports betting is like the money line, the odds and all that stuff. It's very confusing. So by picking teams, you have to have some knowledge of the game and the sport,
Mhm.
but you don't need to know every player, every position, all their stats, who's hot, who's not. You may know a couple players, like WNBA, for example. We're really excited that we added that to our platform this year. And a lot of people don't know all the players,
Right.
but you might know Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Diana Taurasi, the big names. And so you can still play with Evo, you can still bet on the WNBA because you know some of the players. So you're just going to pick the team and cheer for that team, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I'll give an example of how the team-based concept works. So since we're going into the NFL season, I'll talk about our NFL Classic contest.
Mhm.
Um, for that, you would pick one team for passing, 2 teams for rushing, 2 teams for receiving, um, and 1 team for kicking. So that's 6 teams that you have to pick. So it doesn't matter, for example, East Coast, Jersey, New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers goes down in the very beginning of the first quarter, right? He goes down. So anyone that picked him, you lose everything. You get
Yeah.
0. But with Evo, if you pick the Jets for passing, you would still get points because whoever came in for him still did
He's gonna play.
something,
Yeah.
probably not as great as Rodgers would have done, but you never know, right? And some bench players come off the bench and exceed expectations. So it doesn't matter who makes the catch, runs it in for a touchdown, it doesn't matter. If you pick the team, you get points for that.
Got it. Yeah, no, and I think that's kind of one of the obviously the biggest key and the biggest, inflection point for the company is that your whole lineup isn't into the wind for one player going down 4 plays into the game. Is there's the game still goes on, which is
Exactly.
nice, and I think it's a refreshing kind of new concept. Is the game is still going to continue, although injuries are terrible, and we're not, they're
Of
not
course.
ideal, obviously, but the game, for the most part, continues. And so as you guys continue to grow, we talked about the NFL, and you said you added the WNBA, but what sports are on the app? Are you looking to extend to other sports or leagues?
Yeah, so right now we have the NFL, the NBA, WNBA, MLB, NHL. But we are looking into maybe adding soccer for next year.
Mm.
And we're also looking to add more states every year. We're currently licensed in New Jersey and we're available in 28 states plus Canada, excluding Ontario. But we're always looking to add new things, new states, new sports. WNBA was a big one that we added this year. We actually had a meeting with them earlier in the year and they offered us a licensing deal, but we turned that down to because money's a big thing. So we decided to use our money elsewhere and put it into our marketing efforts. But so that was a big deal. And I think potentially adding soccer, this could be a big thing for the NWSL.
Right.
There's a lot of excitement around women's sports right now. And this is Evo is a great entryway to get more people to bet on that.
Yep, I love it. I love it. And as you mentioned that you're in 28 states in Canada, excluding Ontario, I believe. What does
Yeah,
that process go like into getting, obviously, the states that are legal before
right.
it's going to be easier, but is that, time consuming? Are there different fees? Some states might be legal to do it in, but you're like, nah, too expensive, etc. What's that process look like?
Yes, yes. So we are licensed in New Jersey, and that is quite a process. Because it is a regulated industry for the
Mhm.
most part. Daily fantasy for sports betting is a little bit more regulated, but we're taking people's money, so they want to make sure that we're legit and we have the
Right.
proper systems in place to be honest and keep that money and let for the winners and when they want to withdraw it, so it's always available. Um, so it's a process. New Jersey takes a fee. Most states that require a license take a fee. Some are more than others. Like Pennsylvania is like $50,000.
Cool.
So
Deep.
so that's not on our to-do list right away.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. Some are just a small fee, but it's definitely a process because they want to make sure that you're a legit company, because it's gambling and you're
Mhm.
taking people's money.
Right. Was I just out of curiosity, you may or may not know, but is that why, like Pennsylvania, for example, is there 50K? Is that why it's so high? Is there making sure you're reputable and you can kind of foot that bill to get into space, or why would that be so high? Do you know?
I don't know because that is extremely high compared to
Yeah.
other ones. I mean, New Jersey's about 5 grand. Some states are, 10 to 15. Pennsylvania, maybe it's because they want to keep their casinos happy.
Hmm.
There's a lot of casinos in Pennsylvania, so maybe that's it. Connecticut's really hard to get into unless you're attached to a tribal casino. So I think that's why they're trying to protect those.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I was just curious because you mentioned that, and it just is always when there's one outlier, it's always interesting to
Yeah,
see why
yeah.
you're way over here and everyone else is playing in this sandbox over here. And we touched on it a little bit, but kind of the daily fantasy scene and with the 28 states you're in, where do you see kind of, the industry going the next 5 to 10 years, for specifically kind of the daily fantasy sector?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the industry is huge already, but there's so much opportunity. I see it just continuing to explode. Fans are always looking for a new way to engage with their teams. And Evo has such a unique and simple platform that I see us as being a major player in the growth of the industry. Um, like I said before, another area we see a lot of potential for growth is with women.
Mhm.
This segment of the population is often overlooked in fantasy sports and sports betting. Um, so Evo's streamlined approach makes daily fantasy sports accessible to women or men who had not previously entered the world of fantasy sports because it's easy to play. It's
Mhm.
just simple steps. You choose a contest, you select your teams, and you
You're off
kick
to the
back and watch the
races.
game.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and especially with the women's sports in particular, the past 3 to 5 years, really. I mean, we've seen quite the explosion, and especially in the team valuations, where I feel like you can kind of see the dollar signs behind it, right? With these, especially in the women's soccer leagues, and the
Yeah, yeah.
valuations are going through the roof. So that's exciting that Evo's kind of jumping in and spearheading that charge. And as you continue to grow and the growth in the industry, are there any kind of future partnerships or collaborations that would be crucial or I guess big in your growth strategy going forward?
There definitely are in the future. We don't have anything right now, but we would love to partner with a league, a team. Um, Even there's the possibility of partnering with a sports book,
Hmm.
getting them on board. Getting them into the fantasy sports world by being a partner with us. We're open um, to talking and discussing any type of partnerships with anyone that's interested in getting into the space.
Well, and we've seen it with, as you mentioned, with the teams and leagues is, you got ESPN Bet. I mean, they're pretty well, I guess,
Yeah.
woven into sports nowadays, especially with the past, I guess, year or two, where it's, heavily driven in that space, especially the sports betting side of things. And so, as as the app continues to build out on the mobile and desktop and et cetera, are there any features that really, that you love that stand out that you're excited to share about? And, obviously we've touched on a little bit, but any other features that you maybe have not touched on yet?
I just love the simplicity and ease of the platform.
Mhm.
I personally love our or non-traditional contests like the NBA, WNBA three-pointer contest, NFL touchdowns, because that's something exciting and you can cheer for during the game, and it's not as as complicated as the classic with, you've had to pick six teams for different categories. So the WNBA three-pointers is a fun one. I personally, those are ones that I love.
Right. So you can pick, et cetera, the Spark or someone hit X amount of threes, right? Is there kind of a certain number, or
No,
is
no,
that
no. So for the WNBA three-pointers contest, you just pick three teams that you
uh
think are going to hit the most three-pointers that night.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So you'd probably go with the Fever because everybody knows Caitlin
That's
Clark,
me.
right?
Yep, shooting threes, yep, for
Yeah.
sure. I gotcha. Has there been I guess a certain game or um yeah, really game and or league that you like the most, as you said, the three-pointer, but maybe a game that you weren't anticipating that you were going to have as much fun with, or
Um,
or
you
the
know,
users?
uh, it's funny because I was always more of, as a baseball fan, and I'm a big Yankee fan. I like the home run contest initially,
Hmm.
right? But then the more that I saw people playing, the strikeout contest is
Hmm.
more interesting to me than the home runs because you can go a night without like maybe with like one home run, right?
Yeah,
So where I thought the home run contest would be more fun, I think the strikeouts is more fun.
got it. Yeah, no, that'd be very, very interesting. I feel like everyone does love the long ball, but sometimes that disappears. But the pitch and or the strikeouts rather are exciting, and especially in MLB, I feel like
Yeah,
they're always pitcher throws a no hitter almost every other month nowadays, which is
I know
exciting.
it's crazy.
But it's pretty, yeah, I feel like it's pretty frequent rather. So just kind of touching up on some other building or help building the app and creating on the business side has we talked about kind of the challenges in the beginning. So
Mhm.
now, kind of closing circle here, but what's been the most rewarding part of building Evo?
Honestly, the most rewarding part is probably hearing all the positive feedback from our users after our first season. Mark and I and my wife have put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over the last couple of years to build this platform. And I'm really proud to say that I was a part of the whole process. It's extremely rewarding to build something totally new and different from anything else in the market.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And I feel, kind of being somewhere on the ground floor,
Yeah,
every day, putting in the work, a lot of work, obviously, probably going unseen and unnoticed, and then, seeing the result here as you and the team are entering year two, I guess officially year two
yeah,
with the
right.
NFL season. And so what advice as just kind of for the entrepreneurs or maybe people entering the business world, what advice would you give, especially specifically the sports kind of fantasy, sports tech industry, someone getting into the industry?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say talk to everyone you know. But whether you're an entrepreneur with an idea or you have certain goals for a job, just keep talking to everyone. You never know who who knows what or who knows who, right? And
Mhm.
that network is a big thing. So constantly reach out, trying to make connections. Um, and then make sure that every day you're doing something to move closer to that goal. Never stop learning. There's so many resources out there to lean on right now, between podcasts, websites, blogs, all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
So you should never stop learning, but it's also very easy to get lost in all of that. There's so much that you're
All
trying to
right.
hear and listen to everything and read everything. So you just have to make sure that you just stay focused to, small goals at a time to lead up and
Mhm.
to achieve the bigger goal.
Yeah, well said. Sometimes, with all the information and things coming at you, it's like drinking water out of a fire hose at times. But you got to kind of
Exactly.
dial in and kind of find your sector. You specifically, are there certain books or publications or places where you can kind of, dial in and lock into to get, daily, I guess sports text, seeing update, things like that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big person on LinkedIn now. Never really used it in my previous life. I was a bar owner, so I didn't really have a use for
Yeah,
LinkedIn back then. So I just recently, last couple of months, just started diving into it, and it's a great place to learn. There's so many articles, so many connections that you can make.
Mhm.
It's a great place. Podcasts. My dog and I walk constantly, so I'm getting a lot of steps in, so it's good for, my my physical health, but also my mental health because I'm walking every day with him and I'm just listening to different podcasts, learning, just about sports and then sports business and then the gaming industry. So it's a lot, but LinkedIn and podcasts are for sure my number one go-to.
Yeah, and I feel like especially nowadays, I feel like podcasts or I guess just audio type of things when people are walking or working out is kind of one of the main places you can get, kind of two birds with one stone type of deal. We're working out or doing whatever and still, staying up to date with sports and business and etc. And
Yeah.
as we get up to a close here, Tara, the to kind of wrap up, are there any I guess or more importantly, where can people find fantasy sports Evo? You mentioned the app store and etc. But where can they find you? Can they find the app? All that good
Yeah.
stuff.
So we're on all the major socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just search up for Fantasy Sports Evo. I'm on LinkedIn, Tara Kovac. Fantasy Sports Evo is also on there. We have a mobile friendly website, fantasysportsevo.com, and we're also available in both app stores.
Perfect. So you heard it here first, listeners and viewers. The plethora of sites and places that you can find Fantasy Sports Evo. And Tara, we appreciate you joining us today and shedding some light on this new, I guess, business and up and coming sector that we're looking forward to follow. And before we go, are there any? We'll give you the floor for any last thoughts and words before we leave today.
No, I would just say for everyone out there, just download the app or go to the website, fantasysportsevo.com. Give us a shot. It's really simple, really fun. We have small contests, so if three of you and two friends join the 3-player contest, one of you is going to win. So it's worth checking out. $10 minimum deposit. It's not a big deal.
Yep,
It's
there
a
it
lot of
is, and
fun.
and we'll have some links in the bio with entries and things and places to find the company and the brand here. And so feel free to look that up in the bio and the descriptions and etc. And thanks everyone for listening to another episode of the Constant Sports podcast. And to learn more, obviously visit Fantasy Sports Evo at YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all those good sites. Thanks again, Tara, for joining us today, and we're looking forward to watch your and the company's growth.
Thanks a lot, Connor. Have a great day.
Yep.